Valentine's Day, everybody, and welcome to the Icing Artist. So this week we're going to be doing a chocolate box cake. This is all actually cake, and I've just taken some chocolates and stuck them on top. So I'm going to show you guys how to make this cake start to finish. So let's get started.
So I've decided to dress my cake board up a little bit. I'm going to add this really pretty doily. I'm going to stick that to my cake board just using a little bit of gel paste and just make sure that's nice and smooth and stuck down. Now I'm going to roll out some red fondant, and I've got two different hearts that I've cut out here, one bigger and one smaller. So first I'm going to cut out my larger sized heart. I'm just using a pizza cutter to help roll around my fondant and cut out my heart shape. You can peel off your excess fondant. And I'm just going to put a little bit more gel paste or piping gel onto my cake board and then just rest my heart right on top of there. Now for my cake, I've baked a 10-inch square chocolate cake, and now I'm just resting my smaller heart on top of my cake. I'm just going to carve around it to cut out my heart-shaped shape. Obviously, if you have a heart-shaped pan, you can use that instead, but this is kind of a nice alternative if you don't have that pan, so you don't have all these extra pans kind of laying around the house. You can use what you have and just use a template to help carve out the shapes. And there's my heart-shaped cake, and unfortunately my heart has a little crack in it, but that's okay because we're going to repair it and fix my heart all up with some buttercream icing afterwards. So I'm just going to put that on top of my fondant heart on top of my cake board, and now I'm just going to give it a nice crumb coat and fill in that little crack. Now you want to work relatively cleanly when you're crumb coating your cake because you don't want to get a bunch of icing all over your fondant heart. You can clean that up just with a piece of paper towel afterwards, but you do want to work relatively clean. Now I've just cut out a small heart out of my red fondant, and I'm going to stick that on top of my cake. And I'm going to cut out about 1.25 inch strip of red fondant, wet it just with some water, and I'm going to wrap that around my heart, starting at the bottom of my heart, wrapping in towards the top of it, into that little V that kind of goes in right there. I'm just going to cut it off. And then I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. Start at the bottom and then come in towards the V. And just lightly smoothing it, making sure it's nice and tight to your cake. You can cut off the excess and make sure the top's nice and glued together. Then taking a fondant smoother, I'm going to smooth over all of the sides of the cake and make sure they're nice and smooth and I didn't leave any of those little fingerprints you can get in sometimes in the fondant. Now I've got a nice box of chocolate here and some little mini cupcake liners. And I'm just going to glue my cupcake liners down to my cake just using some piping gel or piping jelly. It's about the same thing. And I'm just going to stick those to my cake. And then put all my delicious chocolates inside. If you want to make your own chocolate truffles or your own little chocolates, that would be awesome as well. Unfortunately, I don't know how to do that, so this is what I did. And as you can see, you can cut into your cake quite nicely. So I'm going to cut myself out a little piece right here. It looks so delicious. I'm just going to cut right in between the chocolates and then use a cake server and just pull out my piece.
Let's try this out. It's so good. And after you're done your cake, you can eat all the chocolates too. I hope you guys have a wonderful Valentine's Day, and thank you so much for watching. If you really like this video, I did do a cupcake topper that looks very similar to this. So I'll leave a link right after this.